frozen category, really seeing things like variety meats more likely to be purchased frozen. At the end of the day, it's about that 4 p.m. dinner tonight decision, right?
Freezing technology really hasn't gained leaps and bounds.
Blast freezing, and what that means is, let's say strawberries are coming out of a field in California.
When you walk into Olive Garden and see the breadsticks, you probably think they're fresh from the oven. But what if I told you they were shipped frozen, brushed with butter substitute, and sometimes even recycled from old baskets? And that's just the start. Popular chains across America are serving food that's far more processed, reheated, and unsafe than most diners realize. Stick with me, because today we're exposing the hidden risks in 13 restaurants you probably thought were safe. Risks that can be especially dangerous for seniors trying to manage blood pressure, cholesterol, and food safety concerns. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. You think the grill marks on your burger mean it was crafted fresh, but what if the chef was really a freezer bag? Those lines seared into the beef can come from a machine in a plant miles away, rather than a cook in the kitchen. The idea of a sizzling patty flipped hot off the grill is what menus want you to believe. But the reality for many restaurants is far less appetizing. Behind the swinging doors, much of what gets plated is thawed from boxes and vacuum packs instead of prepared from scratch. For a casual diner, it might feel like a small disappointment. For a senior, it can carry health risks that go well beyond taste. When companies build menus that look glossy and comforting, the real work is often hidden in stainless steel freezers stacked with processed items. Chicken breasts pre-cooked, chilled, and vacuum sealed. Pasta sauces held in plastic bags, ready to be dropped into hot water at a moment's order. Breadsticks reheated after days in cold storage, brushed with seasoning oils to disguise their stale edges. What seems to you like a chef's fresh effort can, in practice, be a quick assembly line of warmed-over ingredients. That system doesn't just affect quality, it creates a daily dependence on chemical preservatives and reheating shortcuts that build costs into your body rather than the restaurant's budget. Think of the freezer as a weapons depot that each franchise relies on.
What can consumers afford? A great study by Cornell that looked into how much waste the average consumer has between both fresh and frozen, and what they found was
in 2022, frozen food sales in the U.S. reached over $72 billion. Demand has been rapidly growing.
So the consumers are buying more frozen product. It's going to require more storage capability and a more efficient supply chain.
Stockpiled by suppliers, built for efficiency, filled with every item an outlet might need in a rush. When a dinner rush arrives, they don't sharpen knives or stir pans. They tear open sealed bags and scoop food into microwaves, convection ovens, or hot water baths. It's effective, it's streamlined, and it satisfies volume demands. But what it doesn't do is provide the kind of prepared, nutrient-rich food that an older body requires. A depot is meant for war, not home cooking, and the same comparison holds here. At Applebee's, workers have acknowledged that upward of 80% of the menu comes pre-cooked. Olive Garden breadsticks travel frozen, revived moments before serving in baskets that may have already made a previous round to another table. Panera, with its branding around warmth and freshness, delivers soups in frozen bags to be dropped into boiling water at the store. These are not cases of isolated corner cutting. They are the main method of operation. Once you see it this way, the trick becomes clear. It's not restaurant cooking, it's food service reassembly disguised as dinner. It would be one thing if the concern stopped at frozen food storage, but inspection records reveal problems with what happens afterward. Health inspectors in multiple states have flagged temperature violations in the very freezers and warming trays relied upon for this system. Ice machines show mold growth that can spread through drinks unnoticed.
Temperature vary, it can become unsafe.
Frozen category, really seeing things like variety meats more likely to be purchased frozen. At the end of the day, it's about that 4 p.m. dinner tonight decision, right?
Percentages are remarkable in terms of what's tossed in frozen items because of inadequate cold storage temperature.
Most frozen food products reported double-digit increases.
We did a recent survey and found that over 80% of consumers look to frozen to reduce in-home food waste and also save money.
Cross-contamination occurs when raw items are stored beside pre-cooked bags in crowded coolers. If a reheated chicken breast looks dry, it's not simply a matter of texture. It can be a warning sign of food that's been thawed and held at unsafe levels far too long. Seniors with weaker immune defenses face far greater risk from these lapses than younger diners. Even when contamination isn't the issue, sodium levels become the hidden threat. A single entree at these chains can exceed 1,500 milligrams of salt, sometimes double that. For people monitoring blood pressure or cardiac health, that number is not just large, it's dangerous. Salty sauces pumped up to cover bland reheats and frozen broths heavy with preservatives all compound the problem. Doctors warn that regular intake at those levels raises the risk of hypertension, stroke, and kidney strain.
Throughout COVID, we had among the highest sales in all of the food space.
When COVID happened, when supply chain everything got shut down, you saw a huge spike in frozen food, sometimes 30, 40, 50% year-over-year basis. Frozen food, you're 5 times more likely not to encounter food waste. Freezing technology really hasn't gained leaps and bounds.
Blast freezing, and what that means is, let's say strawberries are coming out of a field in California.
What begins as dinner with friends might end up fueling medical complications that could have been avoided. For seniors, these shortcuts turn restaurants from nostalgic family gathering spots into places of concrete danger. A freezer-driven kitchen doesn't just reduce flavor, it pairs convenience-driven production with hazards in sanitation and nutritional overload. At Chili's and other chains, the freezer effectively wears the chef's hat more often than the human staff does. The apron you see at the table is simply the last stop in a network of suppliers, distribution centers, and storage units. Once you understand that flow, it's hard to see the dining room the same way again. So if marketing is a facade and the freezer is the real cook, how can seniors and their families protect themselves each time they eat out? Restaurants that promise comfort often rely on hidden practices that directly endanger seniors. Meals assembled from frozen bags, sauces stretched with preservatives, and sodium levels packed far beyond safe limits turn casual dining into a medical risk. Even sanitation, from mold in ice machines to poorly managed storage, creates hazards many diners never see. That is why it matters to ask questions, read inspection reports, and choose fresh options when possible. Protecting older family members can be as simple as being cautious about where they eat. Marketing says comfort, but inspection reports say caution. Familiar chains are not always safe.